We're back on Let's Have It Out. I'm Makhosini Nkosi, and thank you for joining me. Professor in Media Studies at Wits University, Tawana Kupe is my guest this evening. And Prof, the next question that I wanted us to talk about is that in South Africa, you have a lot of diversity in terms of media ownership, but I don't see that reflecting in the voices in the media. It's like if you didn't buy this newspaper, you can buy another one. You're not missing anything. If you talk about Zimbabwe, for instance, you know, the line is very clear between various publications. That is the case in the United States and other places as well. Are you happy with this situation? Is this how it should be?
No, diversity of ownership ideally should also result in diversity of views and ideas and editorial or programming positions that one gets. There's a tendency sometimes in the way in which the media is financed and funded that it makes editorial positions converge, particularly also if you have a narrow base of at the top level of those people who are media audiences. You know, the advertisers are chasing those people that really were able to afford their services and their products. I think in the South African situation, the media is so highly commercialized, unlike, say, in many African countries where with a deleterious effect as well, the media is subsidized by the government. And often what you said, you see a sharp position, often is not an ethical form of journalism as well. So one should be careful.
I wanted to talk about that. Actually, let me give you a follow-up question. You have seen what I would call a proliferation, a spread of community media, community-based media throughout the country. The small town Pongola, where I come from, there's a radio station, there's a newspaper. But you do not see power being held accountable at that level. Instead, you'll have the Auditor General saying that so many billions have been lost in municipalities. What causes that? What makes it difficult for media at that level to hold power to account?
So it's the same base of which how that community media is funded, and also how some people in community media aspire to join, if you like, for lack of a better word, the big media. And so the idea, remember, from 1994, 1996, was to have a system where community media was a voice of the people and the stations were owned by the people. But what then happened in resource deprived environments like those is that, if you like, some people have captured those stations also in small.
But what can they do to disentangle themselves from the stranglehold?
We would need to actually, to be quite frank with you, we need a different funding model for that community.
What would you suggest?
I would suggest that no strings attached public subsidies, which you find in democratic countries like the Scandinavian countries, for example, to empower and also to make sure, because you need to empower people at the grassroots to be able to speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
So what is happening is that because that media is very weak.
Have you guys who are experts on this, have you spoken to government about it, or do we just sit and
no, in various rounds of the reviews of the Broadcasting Act, and in our interaction in some students that I've supervised, they've done wonderful theses comparing those radio stations, community radio stations, where the people are actually in charge and their programming and content, and those that have been captured by the market.
But how do we get that to the people who can make decisions?
I think it's not an isolated thing of just the media. It's also a democratization of local governance. The level of unaccountability in local governments and the thieving and the corruption also speaks to lack of democratic structures, because the system of counter checks isn't just the media owned. You have to have a functional legislature. Look at what happened in the national context. When Parliament also began to have the teeth that it should have had to question corruption, more things would also get into the media and vice versa. And then you could get people actually clamoring for a new president and a new political party.
The issue that I want to talk to you about next is that there seems to be a gentleman's agreement between the media houses in South Africa and journalists that I don't criticize your work, you don't criticize my work. My theory is that that makes the media space boring, I think, where media houses take each other on, there's an interest, and greater consumption of news. In the United States, for instance, Fox News would take on CNN and vice versa. And there is a great deal of viewership, and almost every one of the journalists that you see on television are multimillionaires because there is a lot of, consumption. And I see that in Zimbabwe. I think on a per capita basis, people of Zimbabwe buy newspapers more than we do in South Africa. Is this not a problem that the media don't criticize each other?
I think the lack of critical peer review among the profession makes the profession the poorer and the public the poorer because people are not pushing each other. But also be careful what you ask for. In the United States, there's another dimension to that. That in the US, you find that people who watch Fox News or watch CNN often will not watch the other channel. So they stick to a particular kind of view, which is very rigid. The idea
that promotes tribalism, as is the case in America now.
And also it affects the political outcomes as well. What you really need is critical peer review that makes people change their editorial positions and dig deeper and provide the public with more diversity.
But I think also there needs to be a peer review mechanism of sorts, so that I don't use my radio station to attack someone who can't defend themselves. And if the person who's been attacked go to complain to another media house and we told, no, we don't interfere.
I'll tell you where the gap is that often it's tried, and I've seen it being tried in this very studio at NCA, where people do press reviews or reviews of programs. For some reason or other, normally these programs are run for a week or two. In the newspapers, there's no columns that actually review the media itself. So in the sense, the critical peer review, I think, is hidden somewhere in the bars or in the shebins or in the hotels.
Hold on to that thought. I don't want to keep our caller waiting for a long time. We have Nkululeko from the Northern Cape. What's on your mind today?
Hello. My question is, shouldn't it be the case that media just report the facts as they uncover them, rather than to be giving us the opinions and editorials, which I think, frankly, end up influencing voters instead of making voters make up their own minds about situations?
Do you want to deal with that?
Yeah, no, I think that there should always be a distinction. Factual reporting is exactly what you do. What are the facts? What did the president say at a press conference or when he gave or what was in the media release? Commentary and analysis and editorial is legitimate. It's taking a position, a view, and an opinion. But that should not cloud the facts. When you do that, in a sense, you're entering into an ethical journalism, propagandizing, and that is not in the public interest.
Yes. Very interesting conversation. I was looking forward to having a lot of issues to discuss with you, but unfortunately we've run out of time. And that's it for this edition of Let's Have It Out. Keep the conversation going on social media. You can use the hashtag LHIO. Tomorrow night, accountant, my friend Kaya Sitole will be in this chair. Don't miss that conversation. I'm Makhosini. Thanks for watching and good night.